Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to the third match here in this modern competitive league with Mardu Pyromancer. We're 1-1 right now. We are on the draw, but we have a decent opener, right? We have 2 Lingering Souls, we have a K command, we have a turn 1 interaction spell, and we have all the colors of the rainbow here, so let's go ahead and keep. WotC coverage, Simon G. On humans. Okay. So I think we'll go ahead and play the Mountain. There's an argument for playing the Blood Crypt if they don't play something we want to bolt on turn 2. And then we can get a Blood Crypt tapped. But there's a good chance, I guess there's an equal chance between Kite Sail and Thalia probably. So if it's Kite Sail, I'm going to feel dumb that I, dealt myself all this damage. But otherwise, this might be okay. So double white. Thalia. Okay, so looks like getting the fetch out definitely favored us here. Thalia is definitely going to be a card we're going to have to kill if we want to cast any of our 3 drops on curve. However, we can go ahead and do that on our opponent's turn end step. That way they don't get in a second Thalia. It doesn't have to be on end step. If they play something sorcery speed, then we can also go ahead and bolt Thalia before damage. If they play something like a Mantis Rider here, that's actually going to be a tough spot. If they play Mantis Rider, actually, if they play that, then I'm just going to go ahead and bolt now. And because our hand is pretty redundant here, and by pretty redundant, I mean very redundant. So I'm going to go ahead and want to get that Thalia off the board now, make sure they don't take our cheap removal spell, and then they can go ahead and take whichever clunker they want, right? Because this is what we're going to be doing for the next 3 turns. Or are we? Is it worth Thought Seizing here? I don't think so. I think it's worth probably holding up Kolaghan's Command. Now, they do play Restoration Angel, and they do have the mana for it with Ancient Ziggurat here, so it's important to be careful about that. We don't have to play into it if we don't want to. However, I think we do want to be able to keep up K command here in the case our opponent has a Thalia's Lieutenant, which would pump up their Kite Sail freebooter out of shock range from Kolaghan's Command. So therefore, we definitely want to probably sequence it this way. And here, I'm okay taking this 1 piece of damage here if it means my opponent doesn't have more information on their play. So now they have to play around, whatever I'm going to do here. Right? If I just played the Kolaghan's Command, they can be like, okay, coast is clear. I can just unload my board and do whatever I want. But now, we can go ahead and hold up Kolaghan's Command for whatever else might be coming down the road. Now, a second Kite Sail freebooter here would be interesting. I don't think... Champion of the Parish. We're actually going to say okay to that. We might have an interesting choice here. If our opponent goes Thalia's Lieutenant right now... Ooh, interesting. Meddling Mage? Interesting. We have to use Kolaghan's Command right now, but I think we want to do it to make him discard and get back our other K command. That forces them to name Kolaghan's Command with this Meddling Mage, which means that maybe we can clog up the board a bit over here until we find removal spells for these 2. Because if they named our Lingering Souls here, we would be in a really rough spot. So, as we see, they name Kolaghan's Command. So, here I'm actually going to go ahead and fetch up Basic Swamp. Let's go ahead and Thought Seize my opponent here. Phantasmal Image, Aether Vial. Let's go ahead and take the Phantasmal Image. And now we have some decent blockers on the ground. And our opponent is at the mercy of their top deck. And if we can find just 1 removal spell, we can probably take over this game. A removal spell that is not Meddling Mage. I mean, a removal spell that is not Kolaghan's Command. And if this is a... Oh, man. If this is another Phantasmal Image, then they can go name Meddling Mage and name Lingering Souls. Yeah, this looks like it's another Phantasmal Image off the top, which is really rough for us, but there's nothing we could really do about it. As now they name Lingering Souls, and we're going to go ahead and hope the top of our deck is a bit kinder to us. I think I'm going to go ahead and take this first hit of damage here. Dreadbore. Interesting. So, what we could do here is Dreadbore the one naming Kolaghan's Command, and then Kolaghan's Command the one naming Lingering Souls. And we could even do that on their draw step. And we can go ahead and get in with 1 Souls here because we're going to chump the other guy here. And we could even do that on their draw step to make him discard whatever card is in their hand. So if they draw a 1-drop here, we'll, you know, feel bad about this, but let's make him discard black, red, ping. Let's see what our opponent discards a land. Okay, so that's fine. I think I'm okay just saving 3 damage here. We want to be able to make it to cast our big spells. And wow, Lightning Bolt, probably one of the best cards we can find, right? And I think we want to go ahead and bolt this right now. Reason being, I don't want them to violin anything fancy. And I'm just going to go ahead and play the Lingering Souls for my hand. And now I'm going to get in here for 2. Let's see, we don't have a looting in the yard right now, but Lingering Souls, we have a lot of them, right? We have a lot of Lingering Souls. So Meddling Mage here, naming Lingering Souls could be kind of rough, but I'm going to just go ahead and start hitting in for damage, getting my opponent dead, and I'm going to flash back both of these Lingering Souls, absolutely. So our opponent didn't play their card out, which either means they're holding a land, or they're holding a 2-drop. 2-drop also works. Thalia's Lieutenant, sure. If I was my opponent, I might have held that for 1 more turn. And if they attack here, we might triple block. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and triple block this. So if they drew Thalia's Lieutenant here, then this at least trades for that, right? Sure. Kitetail Freebooter. Okay. I guess that makes our Lingering Souls attacks tough. So, oh wow. Yeah, that's not bad at all. So we could cast that with 2 modes, or we could save this for let's see, if we cast that with 2 modes, that puts our opponent to 13. We attack for 5, puts him to 8. Doesn't change the clock. So I'm just going to go ahead and get in there for 5. And our opponent could easily have top decks here, right? We're not out of the woods yet, but we're not winning this game if we don't attack. And our opponent knows about our Sacred Founder, so we can go ahead and yield through this turn. Say okay to our opponent. Do what you got to do. Play your spells. We're putting on our opponent on a 2-turn clock here. Inquisition. Interesting. If they have a Kitetail Freebooter, I'm going to want to do this right now. That way I don't get one of my Lingering Souls eaten. Right. It's Thalia's Lieutenant, and I'm not too afraid of that. I don't think there's a series of draws that our opponent can do to kill us here. And we put our opponent dead to another attack for 5 here. So our opponent needs to top deck something like a Mantis Rider. I guess that's an argument for draining my opponent with a Sacred Foundry pitch to Collector Brutality, is if my opponent draws a blocker, they're not dead. They are still dead. Alright, looks like my opponent's going in there. Don't think there's any world that we don't attack here. If our opponent has Kitetail Freebooter, so be it. Alright, they activate Aether Vial to try to get me, I guess. And we get there. Alright. Humans is an okay matchup. Not the best in the world, but we do have the tools for it. And by tools for it, I mean my build today does not specifically have many things against them. So we probably want to cut a Blood Moon on them, especially on the draw. And we want to probably, I think we want to keep most of our discard, especially because we can loot it away with Faithless Looting. But we definitely want most of our removal here. And Blood Moon is not the worst card, not the best card against them though. So it's possible we might want to cut, actually I think I want to keep most of my discard on the play, and then just cut down to 1 Blood Moon on the draw, and maybe bring another one in on the play. Because on the draw, they can have like nobles, they can have hierarchs, they can have all this stuff. Sorry, nobles, aether vials, all this stuff that makes it really difficult. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure my main deck is removal heavy, as well as instant and sorcery heavy, and I think this should be a decent configuration against my opponent. Let's go ahead and close that out. Make sure we have enough game space here. See, being on the draw will make this a little bit more difficult, especially if our opponent has like a turn 2 Thalia or a turn 1 Hierarch or something like that to make their draw a bit more explosive. And obviously humans, arguably the best deck in the format, so beating them in game 1 definitely feels great. But that's why we choose to play an interactive deck like this in this format, is to be able to have close or positive matchups against humans, because it's just such a powerful deck that you don't want to kind of be cold to sometimes 7 to 10% of the field in a tournament. So this hand, no threat or anything like that, no lingering souls, but we do have removal. We have Inquisition. All right, opponent's got the Aether Vial draw, so maybe we can kind of disrupt them a little bit before they get on the board here. Wowee. Auriok Champion, Kitesail Freebooter. These are all pretty good cards. Auriok Champion definitely does some damage against us, I'm not going to lie. But let's go ahead and think this through, right? If we take anything but Kitesail, then they play Kitesail on their turn, and then they take Lightning Bolt, which means that if we want to free up our Lightning Bolt, then we'd have to use our 2-mana removal spell and Collective Brutality, and then they might have a turn to be able to instant speed play this Dark Confidant. So I think I'm just going to say, hey, I'll find an answer to Auriok eventually, and just take the Kitesail Freebooter. And that means next turn I can have both Inquisition and Bolt up if necessary. And I imagine next turn, if my opponent doesn't play Dark Confidant, then I'll go ahead and Inquisition away that Dark Confidant. I think it depends how my opponent values the cards in their hand. Obviously, our opponent has a pretty good hand here. They have 3 threats. They have an Aether Vial. So they're going to have a pretty nice turn 3, where they can play 2 2-mana spells. So we want to be able to Inquisition them and take away some of those 2-mana spells to slow them down. So here comes Unclaimed Territory, Naming Human. Here comes Auriok Champion, I imagine. Oh, wow. Dark Confidant. That's great for us, actually, because this means we can Inquisition away the... Oh, that's a Mantis Rider. Ugh. We can Inquisition away the Auriok Champion. Do we bolt the Dark Confidant? I think we do. Actually, shocking there was a mistake. I think I should have just played Mountain. Either way, though, we're running out of gas here. So if our opponent draws a land here, oh man, that's so good. So our opponent can go Mantis Rider. Sure. Yep, so if we draw Fatal, I think Fatal Push is probably the best draw in our deck right now. We can Collective Brutality away this Thalia's Lieutenant and gain some life. Fortunately, that's not what we saw here. I think we want to actually pitch away this Terror Creature, and you gain 2. Pitch away this Mountain. Actually, yeah, we want to pitch away the Mountain because we want to make sure we have Revolt for Fatal Push. So now we go to 4. If we can find an answer to this Mantis Rider, we could be in okay shape. Even if we find Lingering Souls, we can chump for a little bit. Drew another Mantis Rider. Alright, Noble Hierarch. Not the worst. Gets in for an extra point of damage right now. Lingering Souls, okay. That lets us chump for a bit. And again, I want to save this Marsh Flats for Revolt. So we're definitely going to chump here on this Mantis Rider. We're going to want to buy as much time as possible with these Lingering Souls. We do have, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instants and sorceries in the yard. Wow, attacking with... Oh, wow, did they draw Thalia's Lieutenant? I think we'll just take the 1 here if they drew the Thalia's Lieutenant. Yeah, okay, they drew the Thalia's Lieutenant, alright, so we'll take the 1. Ooh, Young Pyromancer. Not bad, not bad. Again, I'm going to go ahead and save this... I'm going to go ahead and save the Marsh Flats here. Alright, the more time we can buy, the better it is for us. Ooh, do they have like a Zathra Necromancer? Sin Collector. Okay. Sin Collector is just a 2-1 that grows their Thalia's Lieutenant. Interesting attack from my opponent here. So we're going to chump 1 here. But I think we'll go ahead and double block here. It means we can chump for 1 less turn here, but if we draw an instant or sorcery, we're okay. Wow, Dreadbore, probably one of the best cards we could find here. And I think I'm going to hold back everything here. We're semi-stabilized. Obviously, our opponent could draw a lot of things off the top here. If they could draw some lands, that would be great, but looks like no lands in our future here. I guess they can attack with Sin Collector here. We'll go ahead and just chump. Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is pretty bad in this position, but technically it does save more damage than it deals. And it gets an instance or sorcery in the yard for us. Yeah, oddly enough, this seems correct to me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can play a Reveler here for 2. Hopefully we can find something other to do. Again, so that Thoughtseize saved us 4 damage, as you saw, instead of... So it dealt us 2, but saved us 4, so it essentially saved us 2 life. Is what I was trying to get at there. With using that Thoughtseize. Obviously, it's a shame it doesn't have a target, but... Shoot. Okay, well... I guess we can play one of these now. And here, in chump mode again. Oof, our opponent has an instant speed. Either Vow activation. Spirit. That's actually, yeah. That's legitimate. That gets in for, that's a flyer that deals 3 damage. Sure. I think I was going to have to chump with a Spirit this turn anyways, but... Alright, let's hope we can find another Lingering Souls here. I think I'll go ahead and fetch. Get a Sacred Foundry. I wonder if my opponent has something on upkeep here. Wow. Alright, well, we could be dead here. So we can't block the Spirit, unfortunately, which means we definitely take 3 in the air right now. Alright, Mantis Rider off the top. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. Unfortunately, we flooded a bit there. Didn't draw Faithless Lootings to cycle through our deck here. Looks like our opponent did get us there, though. Well, I'd like to see if we would have drawn something sometimes. Well, yeah, on the draw, maybe I want to cut like a Thoughtseize, bring in a Blood Moon, and maybe a Kumbal, because it is a blocker. I don't know. Actually, I don't know how much I like Kumbal in this matchup. It's really just a 2-3 for 3. That's a pretty bad rate. Thoughtseize is at least something in the yard. Okay. So this matchup hopefully goes a little better. Hopefully we draw Bedlam Reveler, start going off, doing something fun, maybe laying the Blood Moon. Yeah. So this hand is... kind of a bait hand, right? It's not a great hand with what we have currently, but it could be a great hand if we draw something good. Our opponent mulling to 5, obviously great for us. Let's go ahead and start off a Thoughtseize here. Noble Hierarch. Ooh, Thalia. Is it Staticaster? I think I'm forced to take the Staticaster here, right? I think so. I think Staticaster, look, they're going to draw lands. They're going to get there this game. Trying to fight over that Staticaster seems like a losing proposition to me. Blackleaf Cliffs, nice. Young Pyromancer. Don't have to take damage off of that. Unfortunately, Thalia means we won't be able to cast Blood Moon. Oh, looks like they're going for a Mantis Rider here, which will start chipping in for a lot of damage. And they already have the Noble Hierarch set up, so Blood Moon, you know, might not be good enough here. Let's go ahead and fetch up a basic Swamp here. Yeah, the thing is, things would have lined up differently, right? Things would have lined up very differently if we had taken, say, like a Noble Hierarch on turn 1 instead, or even like a Thalia. They would have had Thalia and play this turn. Looks like they play the Vial, then they play the Thalia, sure. Swinging for 4. So here we're just hoping to find like a Lightning Bolt effect. That is not a Lightning Bolt. So, wow, we're actually nearly dead here. These two Bedlam Revelers definitely not doing us any justice here. I think I'm just going to go ahead and go down to 2. If our opponent has something good to get us here, then you got me. Wow, we're just dead, right? That's why I was worried. This was kind of a bait hand, obviously, like no removal. Mantis, we're soft to a Mantis Rider off the top. I mean, maybe our opponent won't play into it, but oh wow, right, that does cost 2. And the double Bedlam Reveler is just pretty nutty here. Champion of the Parish, Auriok Champion. Yeah, look, I'm not gonna waste anyone's time here. We're dead. Unfortunately, we drew a lot of lands, not enough interaction. Again, the deck obviously feels very different when you draw Faithful Suiting when you don't. I think we could have won that matchup. And there's a Faithful Suiting, and there's the Bolt, right? So if we had just one more turn, I wonder if taking Noble Hierarch was correct regardless of the, is it Staticaster? Because it does slow them down. But it just seems like such a rough time to just leave them with an Is It Staticaster in their hand. I guess technically they couldn't have cast it with the 2 lands we saw in their hand on their Multi 5. It's possible that taking the Noble Hierarch was correct. It also may have made the Blood Moon more potent down the road. Either way, I think we learned something from this match that maybe we could have played that game differently. I'm not sure if it's hindsight or not, but anyways, thank you all so much for watching. That was the second match here with Mardu Pyromancer. Or sorry, the third match with Mardu Pyromancer. Stay tuned for the 4th match coming up in